Hey, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to the Love and Action Show with me, Alpa Soni, the spiritual badass. And today I am honored to have a very special guest, Ian Clark. Hello, Ian. Welcome to the Love and Action Show. How are you?
Very well, Alpa. Pleasure to be here. Exciting times.
Exciting times, intense times, so much information times, so many things going on times, people purging times, everything times. But I've been really excited to have you on the show. And I must give the credit to my lovely friend Aisha, because she watched your show with Mark Atwood. And she said, Alpa, you know, you've got to watch it. And of course, we're all doing our own thing. We're watching, like, we don't get a chance to watch everybody. And she goes, no, seriously, watch him. He has got a magnificent energy. And she was talking about the iodine product that Mark gulped on the show. So suffice to say, I didn't watch it, but based on the conversation we had the other day, she was onto something. Your energy is magnificent. And I am like, you've got quite a lot of people watching today and excited about the show.
Well, that's beautiful. Yeah, there's a resonance that happened when we spoke the other day. That was evident.
Very.
So, yeah, lots of ground to cover.
Yeah, there is. I mean, myself, you know, I thank you for the products as well, because I was just saying to you before the show, I've been, all sorts has been happening over the last 4 weeks. Purging, emotional purging. I think the collective is going through a lot, and we're discovering so much about ourselves, about everything that we thought we knew. And for me, health and wellness is a subject that, you know, has been at the forefront of the trajectory of my path. I spoke to you about, like, that I was diagnosed with suspected fibromyalgia and all sorts of thyroid issues, whatever. But I think that I don't like to ascribe to any label. So I took some, and I took the whole bottle. What have you put in there?
Yeah, right. Well, the cool thing about the perfect iodine is it's just one ingredient with distilled water. And it's the Dalton molecules of I2 crystal, you know, iodine. It's little crystal molecules. And when you put them in your body, they instantly go in through your, you know, the cheeks, through your throat, into your tummy, absolutely floods your body with the necessary fuel your body's been craving for your whole life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people don't get enough of it. And it is something we do have to supplement. It's one of those must-haves. You know, there's only a small list of must-haves, but that holds a very high role, because every cell in your body requires iodine. And it's a communicator, as well as detox, as well as a micronutrient. So,
yeah, well, I felt something after having the whole bottle. I mean, I don't think having just a few sprays in my situation was enough.
right.
I felt quite energized. But then I had a bit of a lull towards the end of the day, and I just felt like a real heaviness. So I just thought, have I OD'd? And then I came out with the rash. So I'm not selling this really well right now, but seriously, this stuff is, I mean, I've just had the 3 bottles over 3 days, and then, you know, I'm getting some more, but it's doing something, Ian, for sure.
Oh yeah, it pushes things out. And so everyone has an individual response to it, you know, depending on how much is residual in your system. And
my money.
Each one's body is waiting to be able to get a hold of this and then hook up the communications, which is really, it's just an instantaneous neural network activation that happens as well. So when your body wants to sleep, that's when you go and sleep. You obey your body, because you fed your body intelligence at a level that it had never experienced before. and it happened all at once. So all of a sudden the body's like, oh, I get to do all these things now. So depending on how many things are required is going to depend on how you're going to go through what you're going to go through. So, anytime I drink a whole bottle, like I can down these bottles, I can down 2 at a time. And
Wow.
all I get is just more lights on and better energy.
2 bottles, is that not ODing on it?
Oh, no. No, you'd have to drink 10 of these bottles to OD, and you wouldn't even then. Because it's a micro dose.
Yeah.
And it's a 150 to 170 parts per million. There's a little range in there. So you drink that, and you know how fresh it tastes.
Yeah.
So it's a do no harm product, and there is no OD. So 2 bottles a day would be what someone would drink if they had a lot of issues to deal with, or they wanted to rapidly upgrade their system. In the World Health Organization, which we don't really care what they say.
Exactly.
They say 1,000 micrograms a day. In Canada and the US, it's 150 micrograms a day. So where we are in Canada and the US, we have to abide by that with labeling, and we, have no choice with that. But anyone who can read between the lines knows that it's up to them how their body feels. The most important thing to me was it's a do no harm product. This would be a 4-month supply if you're at the recommended daily allowance according to the North American Health. If you go to Japan, it's 13,000 micrograms a day. So what's with that?
Wow.
And they flourish over there, and the intelligence levels are high. So all we're doing really is making sure that our body intelligence and our body material requirements are always at that right level. So then therefore we function, and our interface is super clear, because physical health now is going to come more and more into the forefront as people are facing greater and greater challenges.
Absolutely.
You have to have that all systems on board to be able to function at your highest level and be the most valuable you are every single day going forward, and getting more valuable as time goes into the future.
Absolutely. I'm glad you raised that, because so many so-called autoimmune conditions that are going around: thyroid, Hashimoto's, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. The list is endless. And going to the doctors is an arduous task. I was just there the other day, just speaking about my eye rash, just wanted to sort of get some kind of resolve. Then it dawned upon me today that actually, did I OD on the iodine? Am I getting like a real significant purge? But still in the short term. And it's just wanted to see how they handle the situation. And of course, as we all know, much more evidently in these sort of covering these last few months, that going to the doctors is just pointless. They don't even see you. They said to me, you need to take a 3-week course of antibiotics, and then we'll see you. So I said, sorry, like, you haven't even seen me, and you don't even know what's wrong. I've just told you I've got this rash on my eyes. So there's a whole host of conditions, with thyroid especially, people are not really properly getting diagnosed. So there's a lot of guesswork going on. And the main what's the word I'm looking for? So I've just gone blank now. See, this is what happens to me. People just, that's it, the brain fog. The people always complain about their brain fog, losing their train of thought, the tiredness, and there's so much going on at the moment. Just not getting properly diagnosed.
Right. Yeah, so it's a wearying thing. So the whole world is being wearied with all the extra load of stress and restrictions and, things that the challenges that people face. And these things can be definitely dealt with when your autonomic nervous system is dialed in, where your central nervous system is happy as well. So you've got a calm, cool energy about you. Your brain is getting all the nutrients it requires to function at the highest level in your head, in your heart, and in your gut, because all three are totally connected. And you want to have all the pathways clear and all of the receptor sites open and available for the things that you require. Like, just think about your thyroid.
Yeah.
People talk about thyroid issues. Well, they used to put iodide in beer and bread. They put iodide in salt still, potassium iodide. They knew about that way back in the late 1800s in Europe and the 1920 or so in North America, how important it was to have iodide. So iodide is another form of iodine,
Yeah.
But when you drink the iodine, it converts over to iodide when it reacts with things that are not supposed to be in your body. The bloodstream picks it up. The thyroid grabs the iodide, and then it converts it to T3, T4 iodine hormones, which feeds your endocrine, metabolism, immune, as well as your brain function. So it's equated to IQ. So you want your whole body intelligence IQ up. You want your emotional IQ up. You want your mental IQ, your spiritual IQ. All of those quotients you want to be at the best you can possibly be.
Yeah.
And so when they took the iodide out of the beer and the bread, they put bromide in.
Wow.
Well, bromide goes and gets in the receptor sites of the thyroid, blocking even the ability to get iodide if you can get it. So then you have this exacerbation, and it's specifically for women. It hits women the most because, you know, it hits men definitely, but it hits women because of your cycle continuously. Is your body's far more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And you have to have a very clear communication as your hormonal shift happens.
Yeah.
And, you know, for example, you know, cysts, fibroid cysts.
And polyps as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And those things won't show up when you
No.
have the proper amounts of iodine and iodide in your system.
Yeah.
It won't. And apparently there's 43% of women in North America. I'm not sure about Europe and the UK, but 43% over here are suffering from those things at some
I'd say
point
it's
or
the
another.
same here in Europe, significantly high. One
Right.
in 3, I think. Yeah. And that report and complain about having cysts, fibroids, endometritis, hormonal imbalances. I mean, there's a lot of stuff thrown at us. The water specifically, you know, the diets, really poor diets. And that's one of the things that affects me is the brain function, losing my train of thought. I just did that. I was just about to say that happens. And that happens to me quite a lot, even on my shows, because
Right.
it's this imbalance that, you know, is happening constantly. And then my brain just goes blank. And it started progressively about 6 months ago, acutely. But I did feel something. I don't think I've taken it long enough. 3 days, 3 bottles, but it is quite a bit, you know, big hit. But it's a common problem with women.
Right. And it's a slow, gradual effect that happened to you because you're super sharp. And then one day you realize, hey, there's something up, or I'm gapping on a word. But you also have to take into account you are under a totally different environment and your stress levels are high, and you're serving large numbers of people is also a draw on you. So you can't fault yourself for those things. You will fill every single gap. It takes a little bit of time, but you're resetting your entire foundation. Like everything you're standing on physically has to be super strong in order to build that body up on top of it. And all of these elemental things, you know, the iodine, the magnesium, the phytonutrients, all your amino acids, your essential fatty acids. There are so many things that are all pieces of the puzzle. So the chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and you don't want to have any weak links at all, about very clearly, and get stronger and stronger. So as you are here longer, because we're all timeless 21-year-olds, every one of us.
We are. Oh, I think he has frozen. Ian?
Or we lost the signal there?
Just a little bit, yeah. No, it's okay. You're back again.
Okay.
It's fine. Yeah. You were just saying we're timeless 20-year-olds, and then you froze, and then you turned into 20-year-olds.
Well, it's actually 21.
21. Yeah, I was just thinking, oh, he's going to morph into it, and there we go. I was just waiting for some magic to happen on my show. Yeah, well, we are. I mean, I told my mom and everybody that I don't move past 20, so, you know, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, and yet our bodies are here longer. Like my mom's body's been on the earth for 99 years, and she is discriminated against because of that length of time. She herself is the timeless 21-year-old. She is totally functional. People were trying to control her for many years because she is over 90. Wow. Oh, well, you don't have capacity or this or that. That is complete fallacy. And it's the mindset of all of us deep in our programming somewhere, where we think that because a person's body is here for so long that they should therefore be this, that, or that. When the reality is that we should be faster, smarter, more powerful, more valuable. And that's the reality. So regardless of what anybody else is doing, that has nothing to do with us. And what you're doing is you're increasing your value for people. I'm increasing my value for people, and everyone listening is increasing their value for people around them. Not only valuable to yourself, but exponentially valuable as time goes into the future.
Yeah.
So that's how we all build equity. We're building
Yes.
equity in people's lives.
Yep. And this is
And
the
that
name of
equity
the
is
show, Building the Equity in People's Lives. You beat me to it. That's what I wanted to talk about.
okay, yes.
And
Yeah, right.
this is what we're doing, you know, raising the equity in people's lives. And you certainly have a story. You know, when we were speaking on the phone today, the other day, this optimal health is what we all strive for, but it's usually some kind of crisis that plunges us forward to start our own personal healing story.
Right.
And you have one too.
Yeah, we've all been humbled.
Yeah.
So humility, true humility, is just to call it is what it is. You know, not try to cover it up and pretend I'm something I'm not, or try to diminish something which I am.
Yeah.
But just a humbling experience where it was me at 46 years old, a North American white guy, right? Which is, I'm not talking about race, but it just, for some reason, us guys, we got so deeply programmed that we believed in allopathy, and we didn't want to look stupid, or we didn't want to look like we would fail, or we wanted to, pretend something that we're not, or, maybe it was just me, I don't know. But I had to hit this wall, and I hit this wall so hard, and it happened all at the same time when I was 46. It was personal bankruptcy. It was spiritual bankruptcy, mental, emotional, physical bankruptcy. And I was facing a body exit within about 1,000 days based on the general, prognosis of medical people. And I had 3 different major things happening, which I don't believe any of, like you said, you don't like to have a name put to something. I learned that those names, they carry energy.
Absolutely.
And we're souls. We don't have a soul, we are a soul. So if I call my body me, and I say, oh, I have heart disease, I have cancer, no, that's not possible. A soul can't have that. A body could. But if I mistake my body for me, now I'm completely confused. Yeah. I'm responsible for my body. My body is super connected to me, right? This my interface is your interface here today on this call, and everyone who's watching us has a beautiful interface to be able to receive and transmit information. But wow, was that messed up. I had all of my thinking was incorrect. Yeah. I didn't know that at the time. I had to learn all that. Everything I was doing, saying, acting, reacting was wrong. It was wrong because it was harmful. So anything that is harmful is wrong, and anything that is beneficial is right. Yeah. And I thought I was doing great. I was doing what everybody else is doing, but acting as if I was invincible. I don't need so much sleep, and I don't need to worry about my weight, and I don't need to exercise, and I don't care about organic food, and all these things that I had this very weird attitude about for no reason other than being arrogant. And the arrogance was killing me. And so, I just came to a day where I realized everything I didn't know what it was, but I said, I think everything I'm doing is not correct. It's just messed up. And the doctors didn't want to hear that at all. My brother was a medical doctor for 30 years in North Bay, Ontario. He was a general practitioner, had seen thousands of people come through his clinic because he had doctors working for him. And he told me, he said, Ian, your problem is genetic predisposition. You're not going to be able to do anything. You can juice, you can fast, you can do all that stuff that these people do. He said, I've seen so many people come through my clinic, tried every last thing. Here's this guy over here living till he's 94, eating out of the dumpster and partying his face off. And here's this other person trying to be conscious about everything and dying at 35 of cancer. And it's just genetic predisposition. So, and he's trying to convince me of this. Yeah. But what stuck out to me was that I was only 46 then. My uncles on my mom's side, when I was exactly 20, back in September 1978, they died 2 days apart. I looked like one of them. And they both followed the doctor's commands. They did exactly what they were told. They both died on time, approximately, based on their prognosis. And they had, one died on the other one's funeral. And that was such an impact on me then. Wow. But you're 20, you think, oh, that would never happen to me. My grandpa, their dad lived till he was 87. Their mom lived till 103. My mom, their sister, is still alive at 99 and doing well, heading for 110 or 120. But
Wow.
here I was at 46 facing this ridiculousness. And I thought, well, okay, you know, the medical establishment helps people, I guess, as much as they can, but they can't help me. And I kept catching them guessing. So I had to just do a reset because I didn't know what to do. And my brother said, you're killing yourself. You got to do what the doctor says. You know, I admitted, I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I'm in the condition I'm in. Something's up. And then I found out it was all like heavy metals, lead, mercury, cadmium, mold, fungus, you know, which is the same thing, and yeast overgrowth and all this chemical imbalance, and me being disrespectful to myself, to my own body, not realizing you have to really take care of yourself. And so going through these firewalls, and fortunately within that next 3 years, I was able to meet the right people, and through prayer and searching and just being chill and knowing that I could never find the people, I'd had to be led to them. It just slowly happened.
Wow.
And what, you know, what's really cool is the first thing I ran into was raw food, raw vegan, and juicing. So I did that. That was interesting. Did that for about 4 years. But the main thing that happened during that time that I noticed a huge shift in my body was I ran into this thing called marine phytoplankton. Did I tell you about that when we spoke?
Yeah, well, I have a huge fan for, again, Aisha. She's the one who's she's taking it, and she just goes, I can't wait for you to have it. It's changed everything for her spiritually and energetically.
Right.
But
Yeah,
yes, no, I
you've
haven't
got
got
some
that.
coming. You've got
Yeah,
some coming.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's actually made in Spain. And
Right. So
we do
yeah,
the
let's
blend in
talk about
Canada.
that.
Yeah. Well, all I could tell people, because I knew almost nothing about the science side of it at the time, I just said, all I know is when you take this, it charges up your battery. And it gives you some kind of a really deep cycle charge that you can tap into anytime you like. And it also gave me super joyful mental energy.
That's
You know, where you get
exactly
like
what
this
she said.
enthusiasm thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we didn't speak about this on when we spoke the other day, but just yesterday when we were speaking, because Alpa, you know, my energy, like mentally and spiritually raised, and she goes, I can't wait for you to have it because, you know, all this kind of energies and that's getting really affected by it, being the sensitive person that I am. And loads of people are writing into me about the hard things that they're going through in these times. And she said that, you know, this will really, really help. So yeah, tell us more.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just looking at my battery charge for, oh, I think it's good. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Looked like it was low. So speaking of battery charge, right? My computer's
Yes,
it's actually
I
at
know.
97%.
Look at the synchronicity, Sarah. It's called I can never
It's called
pronounce.
Oceans Alive. So this is what it comes in. This is Myron glass. We buy the bottles out of it comes out of Europe. Myron glass is in near the Amsterdam area. But this is a dark violet glass so that it improves the energy. It kind of homeopathically improves energy in anything you put in the bottles. So we do all of our oils in Myron, and then this one. So this has been around for 15 years and is the most popular, and it's not that easy to get. Unfortunately, it's one of our more difficult products, and it requires major sophistication on the heirloom side of the genetics. So they can't have anything touched that's unnatural to it. It has to be grown in a photobioreactor. It has to be grown in sunlight in this ultra pure seawater. So these guys have got this dialed in. It took about 40 years to understand the strains and develop the technology to be able to grow it on land, because you can't harvest it from the ocean. They have to cultivate it on land. So this is, it's just a super fun product. Everybody who gets into it realizes how important it is, because it's a functional, foundational, whole orchestra of nutrients happening at once. So when your body gets the whole orchestra, and we talked about body intelligence, you put it in your mouth, the taste of everything you taste is a scanning of your brain to know what's incoming. You know, in the Indian culture, they taught me that your digestion starts at your fingertips. So they showed me how to eat with my hands, right?
Yeah, we
when I
eat
was in
with our
India.
hands. Yeah.
Right. And then the next step is the mouth. You got to chew your food. You got to really chew it. Just let it be in there, break it down to tiny little particles. So instead of swallowing chunks, you swallow like the surface level of a soccer field for your meal, when you chew your food really well. And then your stomach acids, you don't want to dilute them with fluids when you're eating, so that when the food goes in those tiny little particles, it digests much better. And, you know, this is this whole sequence. It's the art of eating.
Yeah.
But I think the Indian culture nailed it better.
Right?
What's that?
The five fingers represent the elements. So
Yes.
fire, water,
Right.
etc. So it's energetics as well. So as we call it anaj in Hindi or Gujarati, and it's how we eat, and it's the energetic vibration of, what's there's a lot like chewing your food. You're not supposed to speak when you eat. You're supposed to really give respect to your food and how it goes into your body. So my grandfather always used to tell me this. He says, always respect the way you eat.
It's a meditative thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
and then
people are asking about this phytoplankton. Am I saying it right? Phytoplankton.
Yeah, phytoplankton. Yeah, it's marine phytoplankton. So there's freshwater phytoplankton, but then there's the marine. So it's a microalgae. But these two strains have every nutritional molecule known to man, and they're all in one beautiful heirloom strain of Nanochloropsis and Tetrasemis. So they have different reasons about them. One has a large amount of superoxide dismutase, which allows your body to get rid of oxidized material at a fast rate. You don't need much of it either. I mean, people literally 1 dropper full, or 15 drops, actually, you just measure it up 15 drops. You put it into water, people find it a bit beautiful tasting if they love seafood. But if they don't, then they just put it in juice and then it disappears. You can put it in your smoothie. You can't harm it. We put this stuff in a Vitamix one time, and then we spun it. It didn't even touch it. The molecules are so small, they're like 2 microns. And the only thing that opens them up is when you get them into your digestive system. So
it's quite a small bottle. How much do you put into your?
Well, that's 1 ounce. It's 30 milliliters in that bottle. That lasts 1 month. Now, if somebody is doing a project or they're using their brain power a lot, or they're under stress, they can certainly amp that up. Yeah, like I would use that 5 times a day if I'm in a really intense project where I'm using a whole bunch of bandwidth.
I should do it before a show, especially when I feel like the brain fog coming along. Because can you imagine going live on shows? And I've been doing lives a lot lately. But sometimes I'm really whacked and I can't even string a sentence together. It's like, crap, what was I supposed to say? But it's okay. My audience know this about me, so it's fine. But you're trying to heal on a public arena, and it's not difficult. It's difficult, But that's what I was saying. She goes, take that before your shows. Because it really boosts you. It will boost your cognitive function.
Right. They take it about 30 minutes ahead of time. Some people claim that it kicks in within 10, 15 minutes, but realistically, I mean, some of it may, because it has a very large amount of trace minerals as well, which you may feel something from that. But we're talking about a long game. I noticed within 90 days, like you feel it the first day, but within 90 days, I was really charged.
Right.
And I did experiments, like this is 15 years. So I did experiments of not taking it for a while to see what would happen. And I didn't notice much change. But after about 3 weeks, if I took it again, I noticed an uptick. So it's that gradual, slow slide that you don't really feel. You don't realize you're losing a lot of the energy you had. And then I realized, this is just a must-have for the rest of my life on a daily basis. And that's the end of it. It's one of those must-have.
It's not really much. It's the iodine and that, right, that you take. And we were speaking about this, that, raising the equity in people's lives. There's so much out there. And on this healing journey, I've exhausted myself with supplements. And so many people feel the same, because we're running from one place to the other, trying to find answers. And that in itself gets so exhausting. And you think you're making headway and you think you're on the right trajectory. You try stuff for a while and then you come to a plateau. And then you're like, right, nothing's happening, nothing's healing. I know there's a lot of factors to that, your environment, the stress, how you think, the way you think, and the people you surround yourself. Of course, we know all of that. But, if we actually had something that we don't have, like I showed you the other day, I went to see a bioresonance, the first person I went to see just to really find out what was going on was someone who had this bioresonance machine, and it was so good and so accurate. And it works with the frequencies of your body, and it can actually pinpoint exactly what's going on where. But then as a diagnosis, I get the report, and then I get palmed off like 20 different vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the thing. And when we spoke about it, actually, we can keep it very simple down to like about 3 or 4 things, which is the
That's right.
iodine and the phytoplankton and the salts that you were saying.
That's right. Yeah, well, and the salts are a whole other topic. I mean, we would
Yeah.
have to literally do a whole show on the salts
We have
themselves.
to.
But
Yeah.
the real simple thing. So it comes down to simplicity. And my job, I realized finally, my job was to filter out all of the good, all the greater, right? In order to only have the greatest, because the good, the great, the greater, and the gets in the way of the greatest all day long. So if you're going to do anything with your time, energy, and resources, you want to get the maximum results. And I literally spent tens of millions of dollars of research of filtering out, because we tried so many different things. There's hundreds of thousands of SKUs. You could spend hundreds of millions of dollars doing research if you wanted to, but being directed to the right location so that we could then bring the definitive things out. So it's super simple. If I'm not willing to do it too, if I found out it was just too much or overwhelming, I would cut it right out completely. Because there's every device in the world you can try as well. Like there's pulse electromagnetic, you've got your bioresonance feedback machines, you have light therapy, you've got voice recognition therapy,
Yep,
you have
I love
near
that.
infrared,
Yeah.
right? So all these things you can do. Well, people just want to know what are the must-haves, and you got your like to have, want to haves, and then you got your luxury products on top of that. But the must-haves are super key, because that's going to allow your foundation to build strong, and you're not going to have mystery diagnoses later down the road because your body's so dialed in. And that's like you say, 3 or 4 things are going to really set that tone for you and set the tenor for the future, because you're going to be going down the road with a gentle increase. If you take a car on a road for 10 miles, for example, if you're in a perfectly flat plane, the car won't move. If you tip it 1 degree only, the car still won't move. There's too much friction in the tires. Either way, front or back, it won't slide back. It won't go forward at 1 degree. But if you power that car on that 1 degree incline versus the 1 degree decline for 10 miles, it's 870 feet difference between the height of the 1 degree and the height of the 1 degree down. So all we know is, like, in 10 years, you should be feeling dynamically better. All the stuff that was bothering you should be a thing of the past that you've now actually forgotten. And you're just simply living your life and being the most valuable to everyone around you. And then if you live much longer than is expected, because, we don't go with normal body age, right, which is like 77 years old or something. That's just a nocebo effect. We just go, well, all I know is we're here. We're going to be here as long as we're supposed to be here. And every single day we're here, we want to be the maximum functioning, and tomorrow should be better than today. That's what we know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
But people with these chronic illnesses, especially the invisible ones, the ones that you can't see, the thyroids, the whatever labels, and it just becomes really difficult on a day-to-day basis, and it's exhausting because you're wanting all these supplements to kick in, and you go from one person to the next, trying to get answers, wanting to feel better, but you just never know which way you're going to be hit. So the simplicity is something that I definitely jumped on when we spoke, because it's this overwhelm of taking so many different things. But one question I have is that loads of people who have thyroid issues, and they take the synthetic drug, the thyroxine, levothyroxine, how does the iodine work with that, and what doses should they have, and does it affect how much?
Yeah, so if they've been diagnosed with something and they're taking a medicine like Synthroid, they call it over here a synthetic iodide, that their thyroid can't function. So it's literally giving the T3, T4 hormones that the body needs, regardless of how the thyroid is. Yeah. That's when their thyroid has been shut down, either through radioactive iodine or they've done something to stop the thyroid. Those people will still benefit from the iodine, but they're not going to benefit from the iodide. So it just depends on what level that's at. Now, people who are taking Synthroid because they have a hypothyroidism, or people have hyper, whatever it is, that imbalance or that lack of equilibrium where it's right in the center working beautifully is often related to a deficiency because the thyroid's either trying to overcompensate or simply not getting enough fuel and it's down. So what I would suggest to anyone who's on the medication is wean themselves, try a little bit less, and a little bit more of the iodine, let it convert to the iodide, let the body pick it up, and just see, you know, you're gonna have to go by how your body feels.
Yeah.
And a lot of times a symptom will come up that is actually a healing symptom, but it's not recognized as such. And then you miss the opportunity to have a reset. I went through major resets, like resets that were so deep and so powerful. I've got this little mosquito buzzing around in front of the camera so you can see it. That's the national bird here in Canada.
It's fine.
So hopefully it doesn't bite me. There. It's a girl.
So is that like the detox symptoms, like a Herxheimer's reaction?
Yes, a Herxheimer. Yeah, exactly.
Herxheimer's, yeah.
And we want to keep that to the bare minimum because number one, you don't want downtime. I don't like those long-term cleanses where people are completely spaced out and they're dizzy and they're feeling ill and they're starving and all that stuff. I mean, if you were extreme, I did those things, so I know about them. But unfortunately, if I detox too quickly, then I could get myself into a different cycle. So I don't mind purging. Purging is good. That means stuff's moving out, right? But if I'm plugged up and I'm feeling really bad,
yeah,
that's
what I definitely think's happened after taking the whole bottle 3 days in a row.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's just symptomatic, like even symptoms you have right now. If it could be a number of different combinations of things. So when you set the foundation, as you've experienced with the biofeedback, you're given all these things you have to do. Well, if you reset your foundation to make yourself feel better every day, go back and get the test again in 6 months. You won't need any of those things. That's what I've seen over and over again. You know.
So how was your journey? So how long from 46, you know, things you went into a crisis and that crisis turned into your ultimate blessing, essentially.
Right.
It got you to sort of really search inside, and that's what we're all doing. You know, we want to find the answers of what's going on with ourselves, our health, internally and spiritually. How was it for you, and how long did this take, and when was the road to recovery?
Yeah, it was a very interesting journey because I didn't know anything. So I was learning, and I did all the different things I was told and shown to do by people as I met them. And it was like step 1 to step 10. If I could go back to myself at 46 years old, it would be about 6 to 7 months. I would be at the level where I am now, knowing what I know now. Then it took 5 years, and it took a very large amount of resources. Thankfully, the resources came in through the learning of all these things, and I was able to have access to resources to be able to try a lot of things. But it was 5 years. I went from terrible medical diagnosis to a normal medical range. So by 2009, I was at a normal medical range, which is super boring because that just means you're whatever normal is, according to the allopath. And so then I realized well, okay, so now I'm really good, right? The tumor that had grown between my legs that was huge, this thing was now dormant at that time. It was still there, but it was dormant. I knew it was dormant because it shrunk down and it wasn't painful anymore. Okay. And then I thought, well, hey, how healthy can we actually get? Let's find out. I found out that you can keep getting as healthy as you would love ongoing, so long as you know the truth of the things that you can do to, like, we know that the free stuff that you can do to manage your body system, which we'll talk about for sure today. And that one thing we talked about. Yeah. And then there's the things that you're going to invest your time, which is very valuable, your energy, you know, even more valuable, and whatever resources, if you have to spend a little bit of money on things here and there, you got to make sure that it's the greatest ROI, return on your investment, because you're truly investing in yourself. So our responsibility, your responsibility, my responsibility is to make sure that when we are releasing information to people, that it is the top level that is attainable at this time that we know of, and that it doesn't matter whether it generates revenue or not. It's all equity. So the autonomic nervous system reset that we'll talk about is so valuable that within 14 days, you're in a completely renewed operating system, just in your autonomic nervous, for sympathetic stress and parasympathetic for digesting food, deeper sleep, and getting the energy to get the stuff done during the day you got to get done. And that doesn't cost any money, right? So
Absolutely.
very cool stuff. Now but getting back to like symptoms, I just want to touch on that to kind of bring closure to that. Symptoms are simply alarms going off, and usually between late stage 2 and stage 3 something, whether it's a deficiency or an infection or disease or something in your body that shouldn't be there, you'll start to see symptoms but that's like well into that journey. You know, I'll give you an example. People get gout or arthritis when they're in their 50s. Well, that started when they were 20 because their body wasn't processing uric acid properly. It was letting the uric acid build up and up and up. And eventually the alarms go off in their people's 50s. And they could have prevented that entirely by just simply taking an Ayurvedic blend of herbs to keep the uric acid in check the rest of their life. And so, but then you don't realize it, right? So then you go, oh, what is that formula? I got to take that, get rid of my gout and my arthritis. And so then the gout and arthritis goes away, and then they stop. But they went from 3.0 to 2.9, where the symptoms were gone, where they want to take it back to 0 point something. So our journey, all of our journeys together, is to become more aware of where we should be, not based on just indications. Yeah. That's why doing a deep level reset for 6 months on your functional foundational side is going to alleviate multiple symptoms that people have. And then they're discarded altogether because they went away, because your body is always healing itself 24/7. Just like you have a cut in your arm and you heal it, you break a bone, you heal it. Wow, that's life. Rocks don't do that. You know, even a tree could potentially heal its branch if you put it back together and tape it up and support it with a support. It could probably heal up, but the body is so amazing. And so all we're here to do is support the body with the raw materials, the energy, the knowledge, and the spirit that will allow that energy to really get cleaner and better. And right now I feel better than I did when I was 23, 22 years old, better. And at the time I was 46, I had 1,000 days left based upon prognosis. Today, maybe 21, 22,000 days. I don't know because I don't have a crystal ball, but I feel what I've learned now, and we're just kind of getting to that place where we're going to engage every single thing on a daily basis. It's only going to get better and better into the future. Yeah. So getting down to a 0 point something, you know, if you had a stage 0 cancer, that means you have no cancer. Stage 0 heart disease, stage 0 stroke risk, stage 0 toxicity. You want to be in that stage 0 point something. I don't think we can all get to 0 because maybe I wouldn't rule it out. But it's pretty hard to attain perfection in this body that is hit with a lot of stuff. Even on this call, we're being hit with our Wi-Fis and our different,
all the different levels of radiations. Yeah. And they're just everywhere. The smart meters, the smart TVs, our phones, the smartphones, making us all dull and dumb. Right. Not very smart. But yeah, there's so much thrown at us. And then an overwhelm of information about what to do about it, because so many people are talking about different things. There's fulvic acid, somebody's just mentioned chlorine dioxide, taking the vitamin C and D and all of that. But okay, I know there's not one product that will fit all, but we were talking about doing simple things that don't cost anything every single day. So the whole point of this show, everyone that's watching, and I just want to acknowledge everybody that's come on. We've got quite a big audience, so thank you for joining. Is the purpose of this it's all helping towards people's healing journey. And that's what my journey is at the moment. And if you benefit from any of the information that we share today, then great, and you take away nuggets of wisdom and something helps you, then wow, that's great. And that's the purpose and the intention of these shows. And Ian and I were speaking about simplifying things in our lives and keeping them. And so like with myself, with all those vitamins, I'm sure this guy, he had the best intentions, but it was just making me dizzy taking all of them. And then I just stopped. I spent £300 on them. And it was like, honestly, 20 different vitamins. And I'm sure loads of people have that same issue. Okay, we need this, we need that, we need this. But there are a few simple things that you can do on a day-to-day basis every day. So Ian, take that away. what we were speaking about, because I was like, wow, we do this every single day and just have a few products and simplify things. I think the road to recovery seems a little bit more optimistic.
Right. Yeah, it gives you real hope because it is doable. And I've seen it over and over again. When we started our company, I didn't know how it was going to go because I had other small companies in the past, but wasn't very successful at business and had a couple of failures. And it was in construction and doing staircases and elevators and things like that. But when I got into this health thing, we just happened organically. And as it came out, I started to realize that in order to ensure like a soil to seal quality assurance, that we would eventually become a manufacturer. But that's a very daunting thing. But that's not how it started. It started in the basement of our house, just letting people know about the phytoplankton and then just going, hey, I've got to have it. And then seeing the results and then telling their friends. And we didn't have any marketing department. We didn't have any sales department. We just had this phytoplankton. And so I saw the energy of it go out. And the products themselves started to teach the people what was happening as I had to learn. Because how are you going to explain, every nutritional molecule known to man in a bottle and that is in a nanonutrient form and it has this heirloom organic and we can talk about it all day long, but that gets pretty boring and it's very technical. What really isn't boring and cool is that when you take it, it teaches you. So then your body goes, oh, I love that. What else do you have? And so just one thing at a time started coming along and brought the clarity of the body operating system. And then that opens up more doors. So peace and prosperity in your life personally, we can't concern ourselves with the world itself. I mean, to get peace and prosperity in the world the way it is right now is a pretty big, daunting task.
Ian, you can do it. I have faith in you.
Yeah.
Come on. That's why I wanted you here. There's no pressure.
Yeah. But your peace and prosperity, and prosperity is not making money. Money's just a tiny little fuel in the tank. The real prosperity is having all the mechanical and dynamic parts and pieces of the puzzle all put together so that everything starts to function in its proper flow, the way that you're called to your mission. And what are your set of gifts? So if I look at your life and go, oh, I should be doing what Alpa's doing. Well, that's what you're doing. I'm not here to do what you're doing.
Absolutely.
I'm here to support what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're here to support what I'm doing. And we're in a support mechanism. We can bring the greatest value to people because they're investing in themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're investing in themselves and we have to respect that. So what would I like? What I would love and what we ended up getting was the very highest quality nutrients for the body at the very best price. And if I want that for me, I should want that for everybody else. So therefore, you can't have all these middlemen in between everything. We went direct to consumer. Now, what else did that do? When we went direct to consumer, there's no buffer zone. There's no health store employee between us and the client. We hear directly back the amazing results that it gets, and we also hear complaints properly. So when people who didn't understand enough, they would complain, and we would respect that, and we would listen and go, wow, okay, we're not clear enough with their messaging. Oh, they didn't understand quite how to use it, or maybe they just are an overwhelm. But that feedback has been going since 2011. So between 2007 and 2011, we were just running out of our basement. And then in 2011, when we started taking it much more seriously, and we found out how to let people know online and give them some education, we got this immediate feedback loop, which was so beneficial. And we're still like that. Almost everything we sell is direct to consumer. And this mosquito, she's much faster than I am.
Wants to join in on the action.
She's on the call. You're a star.
So a lot of people are asking, sorry, just want to address questions because they're flying in and I'm missing so many questions. People are asking about shipping to the UK, shipping costs. Let's take some of them. Okay, just we're on the energetics of the phytoplankton. Is there a coupon? So I've given the coupon. I'll talk about all of that. Everything's on the description box below, but I've just put it on in the chat as well. Someone's mentioned shipping right. to the UK and the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. The logistics situations are always different for each country. So we're giving a substantial discount to compensate for that amount that
Right.
people would pay.
So is that the
And
Alpa 20? Yeah.
yeah, and our job on the logistics side is to get, we have to break even so that there's no extra cost and there's no loss in the shipping, because we've gone through some very interesting experiences with that. We've got some good relationships with companies like UPS, Canada Post,
Mhm.
DHL. So we're just looking to keep the cost as minimal as possible. Our goal right now is to have a fulfillment center in the UK. We've taken 4 different steps towards that. We have about 2 more steps to go, and also a fulfillment center in Europe. So one for
Right.
the UK to cover that area, and then the rest of Europe. We have fulfillment in Denver for the United States, and in Coburg in Canada, and also in Australia. We have a fulfillment center down there. So the shipping costs are definitely a challenge for UK and for
Yeah.
Europe right now, but it's still affordable. But
Yeah.
when we just let things sort of randomly happen through fulfillment, there was like stupid amounts that we were being charged because we didn't focus on it. That happened quite a while ago. And now we focus very much on each individual shipment. And we also have customer service available if the shipping cost is not understood. People can call in and talk about that and see if there's
Yeah.
a better way. Or if
I
people want
might
to
I
combine
might be a
together.
distributor for you in the UK. I'll put my hands up.
Yes, yes.
Wouldn't mind being your rep for the whole of UK and Europe, because trust me, I mean, I can't say this, but I've had 3 bottles, 3 in a row, and this happened on our conversation, and you said just take the whole bottle, and there I was, 5 sprays. You just said,
Yes.
no, on my tongue, and said, "In, is this supposed to do anything?" 5 sprays. He goes, just take the whole bottle. Now, of course, with the stuff that I'm going through, it was interesting how you said that it just goes to where it needs to, even in the brain. Because I
Mhm.
felt the first thing in my head, the first
Yep.
sort of sensation I felt was in my head
Mhm.
when
Yeah,
I took it. So,
your body knows what's the most urgent area, and so it's, the brain is, controlling the show. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to take it first. I get it first. After I'm happy, you guys get the rest.
well, I really need it in the brain. It just goes off some. It just goes off to like a cockatoo brain half the time. So yes, so the shipping costs, and then there were some other questions that I had from about what your opinion is based on your research and experience. Why so many people, specifically women, I think we did kind of touch on this earlier, specifically women suffering with thyroid these days.
Mhm. Well, yeah. So it's obviously a master gland for hormone regulation, and for a lot of different, because it controls your immune metabolism, your endocrine system, and your brain function. So women are taxed much more than men on a daily basis. Like men thrive on stress, women do not thrive on stress. Women get harmed on stress. If they're Women
Depletes
have different pain thresholds. Women can have children. Wow. And women have a cycle where their hormones are shifting every day of their entire life. And then if they're going into menopause, they want to have that extended as far as possible, and having everything in equilibrium. So, and plus a woman's body is, women are way more tuned into their body. Like they
them.
know much faster than a guy will know. Oh, I ate that and that really messed with me, or I tried that and that kind of threw me off, or it made me feel great. So women are, the sophistication level in a woman's body is, I don't comprehend it because I'm a guy. But
Right.
so we're like the coat hanger with the tinfoil on it. You guys are like the great big satellite dish, and that's the difference. So the importance for women to have the raw materials at the right amount at the right time ongoing is going to have such even a greater dynamic effect upon you.
Right.
And I can't wait till you get the rest of the stuff that we have coming, because you're going to get the ease, which is going into this through the skin. You'll
Right.
feel that in 90 seconds. This is a
Wow.
very special form of magnesium chloride hexahydrate. It takes 11 hours to make the product, and it's not like somebody buys magnesium chloride and melts it in water and sprays it on their body. That doesn't work. This stuff goes in. So you want it to go in geographically, and what that does is allows the usage of bandwidth that your brain is occupied with to be lessened, because 80% of your central nervous system is connected to muscle function alone. Like think of the number of muscles you have in your body, and the number of groups of muscles, and all the patterning and you fast twitch and slow twitch. And we take it all for granted. But every single muscle contraction requires calcium, and every single muscle relaxation requires magnesium. And people get low in magnesium, they get too high in calcium. Then they get hypertension and sore joints and brain fog and upset and anxiety and whatever that comes. It's not like magnesium doesn't cure that. This is not a cure-all. This is just fuel that you put in your system, and your body goes, oh, thank you. Thank you. You topped up my tank.
When do you use that? When do you use that? After
you
a
use
shower?
this morning and night. This is a morning and night thing. So with me, and women have different habits of the day, like when you have a bath or a shower or whatever. But when I wake up in the morning, I always have a shower, and I put it on right after the shower. It's 30 sprays, and it's super easy. I just put it in my hands like that and just wipe it on. You don't rub it in. 30 sprays in the morning before you go to bed at night. 30 sprays. That's like for sleeps, amazing, because you want your whole system to just go into relaxation, and plus during the day you want to be in a relaxed, calm energy.
Yeah,
because you've had a good night's sleep.
Yeah, so just imagine that. And then the grounding mats. I sleep on the grounding mats. That's something people should invest in. I love those.
Yes.
My sleep really changed from having broken sleep to not having that. So I definitely recommend people to get some grounding mats and then have that. Yeah, I can't wait to have that. Thank you.
The grounding mats are magnetic because you're tapping into the magnetism of the Earth, the Schumann resonance, right?
Yeah.
So magnetic, magnesium. There's no coincidence that they're hand in hand. This is the master mineral that supplies. They measured, and I mean, I think there's a lot more, but they say there's a minimum of 330 biochemical reactions that are happening in your body all day long that require magnesium as the catalyst.
So going back to the iodine. How often can one iodine? The Brits have different ways of saying things. How often can one take a full bottle? I mean, it's just like it's like yanking one of those little alcoholic bottles. There's alcohol bottles.
Yeah, that's right. Necking it. Well, this is going back because we don't. I personally spoke to you about it, and I could tell the things you've been through and what you're doing, that your body was able to handle that. Not everyone can handle a bottle of that.
I'm hardcore iodine.
You're like me. Yeah. So, people could try like a teaspoon and see how it feels, wait an hour. There's no rush. And if they don't see any reactions and they just feel a gentleness, then they can do another one and another one. And then eventually, I like people to be super respectful to themselves.
Yeah.
And not put themselves into a tizzy. Because I don't like downtime. You don't like downtime. And if you do have some downtime, well, then I planned. I've done certain things where I knew I was going to have downtime, right? But that's pre-planned. So I don't recommend anyone to do anything other than what they feel and their gut instinct, first of all. And then their brain's calculating like, okay, well, what's happening around me? And then their mission, and their heart mission intelligence is going to be dynamized by something that they got to have respect, because you're, a multifaceted being: spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, domestic, financial, environmental, and so on and so on.
Badass.
So all those, right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Spiritual badasses.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
or good asses. Maybe we could be spiritual good asses too, because there's always the
the duality, dark to light, light to dark. And just another question is that can children have it as well? So, and if so, how much?
Yeah, so it's based on RDA, body weight is sort of that boring number again. For every 50 pounds, you would have X amount. So it's 150 micrograms for a 150-pound person, right? So you would have then 50, so really a microgram per pound. You just do the math. That's the RDA. Now, even if you're only doing RDA, you're still going to get a benefit, because it's still going in and it's still supplementing you based on what the bottle says. But everyone from before they're born, when they're in the womb, their mom's giving them resources of fuel through the iodine, very valuable. Yeah. Before the mom gets pregnant, she should be making sure her levels are up. And then once the baby is born, you can give it little drops, because it's this fuel. You got to have this fuel. The food doesn't have it properly in it. We don't get the right form of it out of the food anyway. And the best that most people get is like potassium, iodide, and salt. So I think this is just the easiest, simplest thing. And you can get it in the system. It goes in through your skin also. If you have a cut, a bruise, a burn, anything, this is the material your body wants to use to heal things very quickly, because it's just material in the body. And plus it keeps things disinfected. You can spray it in your, for anyone who has blemishes on their face, if they're diligent, 3 times a day, just spray 3 times a day, within 2 weeks, there's a nice, beautiful, clear skin.
Yeah, no, I wish I saved some for the rash that I've got around my eyes, because
You got a bunch coming.
yeah, no, because I just think that this has been a reaction to taking 3 bottles in a row per day. So it's kind of been quite heavy duty. So if we think about it, folks, it's just taking that, depending on how much your body needs, and how quickly you want to kind of get to your healing place, the ideal and optimal place. And then there is doing some simple things that you mentioned as well, by lying on your back with your legs on. Well, you can explain that better. You were talking about that the other day. There's some things that we can do that really can change the physiology of your body.
Yeah, that's the simplest one. So people would just imagine themselves sitting in a chair and then getting leaned back on the floor so their back is flat on the floor. So if you use your couch in the living room, for example, or if you used your bed, the couch in the living room, you would simply put your butt up against the face of the couch. Your knees are sitting on the cushion of the couch. Your knees are bent and your lower legs are there. Your back is flat on the floor and your head is on a towel, not on a pillow. And there's a reason for that. Because what we're doing is we are conditioning, retraining the brain to chill out, because it's not chilled out. People get into sympathetic stress and they get locked into it. And just because they go to sleep and they go into a sleep, they don't go into a deep sleep, because the sympathetic stress system is to run from the tiger, get things done during the day. And then you want to be able to flip immediately back into parasympathetic, which allows you to digest your food properly and have blood back in your brain for clear thinking, and be out of that sympathetic stress position. So because of all of the technology that's around us and all the different stressors that are in our lives, the majority of people get locked into sympathetic stress and they don't even know it, because it's called the silent killer. Well, what a doctor in California found out, and this is after years of trying everything from acupuncture to massage to herbal remedies to try to get people's autonomic nervous system back in the right side of the chart, so they could go back and forth and get things done and then rest and relax. And what he discovered was, after all the trying, it was a mechanical thing. When you're in that position, laying on your back like that with your thighs vertical,
and the blood,
your thigh blood vessels, your thigh blood vessels are still going to be expanded 15% more than normal, because it's being told by the brain sympathetic and run from the tiger, but it can't keep the extra 15% in there, because the gravitational forces gently allow that blood to go back into the gut and the brain. And when you do that for 30 minutes a day for 14 days, this is a clinical trial they did, every single person got unstuck from sympathetic stress and was able to go on the heart rate variable monitor back and forth properly between the systems. But they had to do it for 14 days. And if they even missed a day during that time, they had to do it
start again.
14 days.
I want everyone to hear this, guys, because this is just simple stuff that you can do on your own without, it doesn't cost anything. And I missed a day, so I'm back to sort of day 3.
Right,
but it's cool. So important. So and these are simple techniques that we can do that can really help shift things for you, and we don't have to OD on so many supplements. And I was so happy to learn this, because it's so overwhelming taking so many different things. So I think I can definitely start seeing an improvement with that. But again, in my case, I think a bit of a strong reaction. So, go easy on yourself and see, your body will tell you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a respectful, gentle thing. But you're a courageous woman, and I find women are even more courageous than men in so many areas. And we can talk about that some other time. But
I think people want you regularly on the show. I mean, we're having Ian's a superstar.
So that sympathetic stress release, your symptoms, what you will experience yourself is the symptoms of where you rev an engine up and it stays there, and then something happens that's stressful and you can't get any more bandwidth. It's just like, oh, right?
Yeah.
Well, after 14 days, it goes right back to a nice, gentle idle. Stress comes, it goes right up, takes care of it, goes right back down again. So it's a whole personality shift, and everyone will see it around you. They'll sense it. It's like different energy. Hey, well, that's what happened. How are you
Ian,
doing?
will I get my wings back? Will I fly? Like, will I get those angel wings? And then, I'll just, that will happen. Okay, I'm buying 100 bottles.
Yeah, and there's nothing to buy. You just do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, doing that for 30. So it's 30 minutes every day. So
Yes.
why? So we put our head on a towel, not on a pillow.
Well, you just want to have your head down, because the blood is training your brain that there's blood in there when the brain's not expecting it. That there's a normal amount of blood, because the brain is expecting you to be running from the tiger all day, and it's not worried about having blood up there. So now you're saying, no, I'm mechanically with gravitational forces putting blood there, period. And it will knock you out. Have you noticed that? Like when I first did it the first time, I went into another world, and I was down there for an hour before I woke up. It was like this midday nap that went into this other universe. So then I realized, okay, now set an alarm for 30 minutes. It will knock you out. I don't recommend any meditation or listening to music or anything like that at that time. It's just because you just don't want anything happening. You want your brain to go, there's nothing to worry about here. There's nothing to do. I'm good. If you could do a float tank with your legs in that position, that would be even better.
Wow.
Have you done any flotations?
No. Well, once a long time ago, but it was a disaster.
No. Wasn't it the right place?
Conversation for another time, but yeah. Somebody's just asked as well about the towel. So, is it just flat or rolled under the neck? Just flat. No music.
You could put a little support under your neck. That would be fine if you don't,
Thanks,
if you're used to having something. But just as long as your head's not tilted up too much, because you just want to have it flat but comfortable. Yeah.
And no music and nothing. Yeah, folks.
Yeah,
just remember that. Yeah, just literally yourself and the floor and the towel, and you with your legs up on the sofa, and for 30 minutes, no breaks. So we have the iodine, the salts, if you don't mind touching on, and the phytoplankton. So it's really quite simple. And the magnesium, you're not really taking much.
That's right. Yeah. So we're working on a combination of salts that are not available. So I don't want to have anyone confused to think that they can go to our website and get these. Yeah. But you can definitely find them in your local area, likely anywhere in Europe, UK, North America, Australia, wherever, Asia. And these are the one I love. And we're working right now with a compounding outfit who can make these. It has all 12 cell salts. And before I explain why these are so important and why we are going to engage to make sure that we have this available for people, is that back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they discovered that you could burn, like you could take a supplement like this in a lab, for example, get super clean flame and burn this down so there was only just the finest ash that would be left over. And then when you go through the ash, you can find out what the actual elements are here. That's how they tell what's in something. And it's called the certificate of analysis. So the Schussler gentleman who realized, well, why don't we just do that with a cadaver when somebody has died or a younger person who has passed, take the body and bring it right down to the finest, cleanest ash, and then do an analysis, a certificate of analysis on the human elements. And he found out that the body is made of 12, what he called bioplasma tissue salts. And so, and when you're missing these, if they're not coming into your diet, so then they figure out how to make them homeopathically. There's real salts in here. This one's from a company called Hylands, Hylands. And I just saw this at a health food store. So, and I like these ones too, because they don't have any excipients. I don't like magnesium stearate and all these weird other things that they put in for easier production. And these, and I would imagine lots of people on the call are familiar with these. They're a little pellet. And this is the size they are. They're very small.
They're like little homeopathic tablets, aren't they?
And they disappear immediately. It's a 6x homeopathic dose. You get 6x or 12x. 6x has more material. 6x is the choice that I buy. But anyway, all 12. And you take them when you first
Right.
start. It's like the iodine. You get more into your system.
Right.
And
How many
I
do you
could
have a
share.
day? How many do you consume a day?
I'm doing over 100 a day.
Okay. And how many come in the bottle?
There's 1,000.
Okay.
So that's a 10-day supply. But within a few months, and I'd heard about cell salts for so long. They've been on the radar for quite a while, but I just didn't get it. And I don't know why, but I think there's a timing for everything anyway.
Yeah.
But this is the building blocks. This is the deepest building blocks of your body, where the iodine's a fuel, the magnesium bit fuel. This is building blocks. And if you have any gaps in your foundation, it's going to fill them. It's also going to allow the body to be much more effective at detoxing itself on its own without any additional, because your body is an amazing detox machine, from heavy metals to chemicals to whatever, fungus,
Right.
mold, etc.
Yeah.
And people get sick and infections, they call them. Well, that's because their cell salts are off. So when your cell salts are topped up, so yeah, you just top them up. And literally that handful has about 12 in there. And yeah, I don't need water or anything. They just go in the mouth and they dissolve. And that's it.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And you can let them go into your tongue. And because it's a homeopathy, you cannot OD on this at all.
That was my next question. Is there
you go about it. The
you can
point is
actually
that
have
your body,
so tell me, you can take
Sorry.
them throughout the day consistently. So you've just had 20 there. You superstar.
Yeah, that's the idea. You take them out throughout the day, because it would be like showing up at a construction site where somebody's building a house. And you give them all the material, the whole house all at once. You expect it now, just do it all, right? Well, no, we got to do this first and that first. So when you take a smaller amount consistently throughout the day, and this bottle is kind of cool. I just stick it in my pocket or throw it in my backpack. But it just goes wherever I go, and then it goes in, and that's how your body likes it. So once I'm up to speed, I can go back to what they recommend, like 6 pellets 4 times a day for maintenance. That's only 24 pellets. That'll last quite a while.
So in your own journey, you kind of you've tried everything. You did the detoxes, you did the juicing, you did the fasting, you went through this trajectory of, just like a lot of us in this healing journey, we're all trying to find our way to healing quickly, and not then having this sort of stop, start. And I presume you went through that as well. And then you kind of narrowed it all down and simplified it to just these few steps that you take on a daily basis, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And like I mentioned, if I could go back 15 years ago, within 6 months, I would be where I am now, based upon the knowledge, because I wouldn't take all my bandwidth and time and energy to do all those other things, even equipment wise. Modalities. Which modalities are you going to choose? We could spend our entire life just to be healthy. That would be awful. Right. We want to be healthy, and we want to be out and fulfilling our mission. Each one of us have been given a very specific mission. Yeah. And that mission is, you're serving that mission, and you want to serve it at the highest level. So these are the things. Yeah.
Sorry to interject there, but just in terms of like what you eat, how you eat, did that not matter as much with just taking these? So like, for example, people have got gluten intolerances, dairy intolerances.
Yes.
And then, that's just an upsetting thing in itself, because you can't really eat things. I can't eat gluten. And I don't have any dairy. So, you go out and it's just very restrictive sometimes. I've got used to it. But then if I have something by mistake, like a little bit of gluten, it can floor me. So how did this change for you? Like, are you quite okay eating pretty much what you want?
Yes. Obviously. Yeah, but I'm very picky about the quality. I'm not picky about the actual thing itself per se, but the quality. Where did it come from? Are there any contamination factors in it? But what I saw happen with my body, I was super sensitive to different food for a long time.
For a long time, that's what happens. Yeah.
So my sensitivities are gone. I don't get bothered by anything that I consume anymore, because of all what that was chemical imbalances. I had lots of fungus. So if you have something that's fungal by accident, then now you're over the threshold already. So my body, when I detoxed all the fungal stuff, the mold, and got the yeast overgrowth dealt with, all those symptomatic things went away. And it's just, we don't want to tell our bodies, oh, I'm sensitive to this anymore. Say, no, body, I'm here to support you, right? Yeah. I'm here to help you get super healthy, where you can take whatever you need to do to deal with. And
Yeah.
that way I don't have to be, I would say being nervous about what I'm eating and being super anxious about things too often is the worst thing, because anxiety hormones, fear hormones, anger hormones, those things are very destructive. And I don't like putting myself in a box. Like people who want to eat a vegan lifestyle, that's fine, as long as they don't put themselves in that box.
Yeah,
Because that's what
you
their
don't
body
ascribe to
will.
those labels. Yeah, saying, oh,
Right.
and the thing is, I'm guilty of that, Ian, as well. Like, oh, I'm one of those nervous eaters recently, because as soon as I had a little bit of dairy by mistake a couple of weeks ago, and it was horrible. I didn't consciously think it was going to cause me a bit of havoc at the other side, but it did, and it just becomes that yo-yo where, and a lot of people are watching, I'm sure. If you've got any gut sensitivities, allergies or intolerances to dairy and gluten, you start kind of convincing yourself that I can't eat this because I am. And that's really something that I want to help myself as well as others sort of instill in their mindsets, that look, we are what we tell ourselves. And it's so important. I have to remind myself all the time, especially when you're functioning at a low level and you're ridden with anxiety, something's not going on right at work, or with everything that's going on with the world right now energetically, we're thrown, there's a lot of things thrown at us. So it's so important to have our health at an optimal level, but it's that yo-yo. So if we can simplify this, I mean, I'm sure it sounds very exciting, and this is for me, like I tell you, I kid you not, folks, 3 days, but I want to try it for a month and do all of it. And then Ian and I will have another show in 14 days.
That's great. Yeah. And when you talked about the food, North America is so different than Europe, because I found that I get messed up with the gluten over here as well. But then I found out that there's mold in the wheats, or they've got some kind of glyphosate that's sprayed out in the organic field, or something weird. Where if you go to einkorn flour, for example, you can consume that well. Or if you go to A2 dairy, the caseins don't mess with you like the A1
Yes.
dairy. There's all this learning, or sheep's milk or goat's milk, or all these different, or go to the gear cows in India.
Ahimsa
Right.
milk, right?
Yeah.
It's the casein that affects us in the dairy. It's not the dairy. And in India, everything is like, just have milk. Every Indian, just doodh pi lo, just drink your milk.
Right.
Yes, my dad's philosophy, just have a glass of milk and Weetabix, right? Yep. That's not the solution here. But the cheese, dairy, the gluten. I'm glad you mentioned the einkorn flour, because on an Indian diet we have a lot of chapatis, and in our diet, and I couldn't even eat those. But when I changed to einkorn, it's really gentle on the stomach and organic as well.
That's right.
So,
yep. And ancient grains, not mixed up with a bunch of stuff. And the other one to add in, and we got to get this out there, we have megatons of this, because we press certified organic amaranth, which is an ancient seed grain, right? So we press the oil out of that, which is super potent. Like one little bottle goes a long ways. But the cake, the seed cake that comes out, because the way we press it doesn't damage the oil or the cake, it's the most beautiful flour. And you put it to any recipe, it makes everything fluffy. So for people who are eating gluten-free, they add the amaranth, and we just haven't got it in packages yet. It's waiting right now, but we've been pressing amaranth for 5 years. And a lot of it went to our farm, where we're doing all of our research and development on animal feeds and fertilizers, the fertilizers that are made from natural things, composting. And we've been composting this stuff. It's like, it's almost a crime that hasn't been out in bags and available, because it's defatted. There's only very few press technologies in the world that can get the oil out of amaranth, because it's such a tiny seed, as so small, and they're really hard like a rock. But my friend Matt figured out exactly how to press the amaranth seed to get all the oil. It's like 2 to 3% oil. So 97% left over of this beautiful flour that people got to get. Even if you just ground the amaranth, is still better than nothing. But having it defatted where there's no oil, you can then heat it up, cook it, do whatever you want.
Yeah. And there's this misconception about all this gluten-free stuff. It's actually heavily processed. It's not good for you. I went through that whole stage of eating gluten-free this, gluten-free that, the pastas. It's just all very highly processed food. And again, interfering with your gut dysbiosis. So it's better just to have the organic corn flour and the amaranth. I used to have a lot of chapatis made from that as well, actually, and they're nice. And what about what are your thoughts on the chickpea flour?
I don't know much about it. We've used it, definitely, like rice flour, chickpea flour. I guess it's okay. It's like sesame seed flour as well.
Yeah.
There's
But the
different
whole
ones.
point is that we can have a balanced diet and not be so sensitive to eating things. So like, strip everything out, just have vegetables for a whole month. That cleared everything up. What works for some people may not work for others. But I think essentially what I'm trying to pick up here is that this just is simplified, and doing some things that are not that costly yourself at home. Instead of buying all these expensive supplements.
Right. This is super affordable because I
like zeolite. I take that.
Yeah, zeolite, as long as it's the right kind of zeolite, which I know you have.
Yeah.
There's other zeolites you couldn't pay me to take them.
Yeah.
But this is a displacing thing. I actually spend less on the food that I consume and the other supplemental things than I've ever spent, because you don't need as much of them once you're up to your maintenance levels, and you're getting so much more value out of the food you're eating when you chew it properly. So your costs actually go down. And that's the beautiful thing about being healthy, because everybody has the perception that, oh, I have to be wealthy to afford this. No,
Exactly.
The prosperity comes in, and you get the more tuned in you are, the more inspired you are, right? The more anointed you are to do things that are seeing the unseen, what people are not seeing, to be able to bring something to the world that is of great benefit. That's your value generation. We're just all about generating value for people, and then the value just flows every which direction to increase that every day.
See, look how beautifully put that is, raising the equity in people's lives. And it's just doing these simple things. I think as humans, we are so overwhelmed with so much information all the time, and it plays havoc on the brain, because there's just so much out there. And sometimes just the easiest solution is to simplify things for yourself. Tammy, zeolite, I use the touchstone one. I discovered all of this on this journey, to be fair. 18 months ago, my life was very different. I was in financial services, didn't really concern myself with anything to do with social media. I wouldn't even have dreamt of having a YouTube channel, but here we are 18 months later. I'm no longer in the financial services, trying to find a new career and what I want to do. And it's indicative that I'm following the path towards healing and, helping others find their way, whoever I'm meant to help in this journey. And, I've asked and I'm getting answers, and I've asked from a space spiritually where I want to heal. I'm ready. I didn't anticipate any of this, but my kind of understanding of things were not right for myself was 10 years ago. And it's just been a trajectory of finding answers. I don't have them all, but then I asked for the right people to show up in my life. And like I said, Aisha mentioned you because she'd watch, because you have to watch him. I said, I'm not going to watch him. I'm going to speak to him. I said this to you on the phone. I said, I like having those connections where we connect organically. But funnily enough, it was just a few days, guys, just a few days before I should mention him to me, that I was asking, because I was getting irritated with all the supplements, having to buy all these supplements. So, and then she said that Mark just gulped a whole bottle on his show. And he told me afterwards he felt brilliant. So, I wanted to inquire and find out more. There she is.
Yeah, and that's the tip of the iceberg. So as the time goes on, we'll have more time to talk about amino acids, and the body just keeps getting better and better and better. The biggest thing for you with your show is where you've actually truly experienced that element yourself, and because there's a resonance that comes with it, and then people who have then see that, and then they go, oh, okay, that's worth investing in. Let's give that an honest opportunity to come and teach my body something. Yeah. And then it's a continuity, because I don't I don't think people should start something that they wouldn't be willing to continue. And I found that with me. I did all, I mean, there were so many trending things. You know, you go to Expo West, which they shut down for the last couple of years because of all this restrictions. But I went there every year from 2007. And I was even there in 2020. They shut it down the first day it started. Everybody had all shown up and it was crazy. But that every single year, that show grew and grew and grew. And it went from 100,000 supplements to hundreds of thousands, and to every imaginable person doing every imaginable kind of thing. And it was total overwhelm, but it was indicative of the fact of everyone's trying to make money in the natural products industry instead of defining it down and just create value, because that's everything that's super great is a complex thing made totally simple.
Yeah. And
you do this, this, and this. It's like 1, 2, 3 burger. I would suggest going there. But In-N-Out Burger, right? It's got 3 options. And that grew very much because they focused in on their quality. But having those definitive things, and then people can go from there and see.
But again, just a few. And just someone's asked, I think it's a really good question, Ronnie. Thank you. What did Ian use to detox the mold issues?
Oh yeah, well, number one, if I would have had access to this back in the day, I didn't have this. This is the number one thing that goes after mold spores, mold fungus, which is the same thing. I went through these really radical detoxes using extracts from black mica. I used silver. I took a lot of, and this isn't not just like the colloidal silver that everyone knows about. This is like pico silver. It's combined in it's a silver dihydrogen citrate. This is a little bit of a scientific thing. What they've done is they've combined a citric acid molecule with a pico-sized silver ion, so that the mold or that microbe, that thing that shouldn't be in your body, loves this kind of stuff. It feeds it because the citric acid is viewed as a fuel, like a sugar kind of a thing to it. But inside there is this pico molecule of this silver ion, which tears apart the DNA of the thing. And I saw so huge things happen with that. You're not even supposed to take it internally, according to the company. But I found out there was no toxicity. It's used as a surface cleaner for 72 hours. You know, it's like, and this guy told me, no, just spray it in your mouth. You'll see. I go, like, how much? He goes, like 7 sprays. Well, remember I told you about that tumor that I had at the bottom of my body that shrunk down and it was dormant? So it was dormant by about, I would say towards the end of 2009. So in the spring of 2010, in April, I heard about this little event that was going on about maybe a 2-hour drive from where we were in Ontario. So I had to go across the border in the States and go to this thing. And it was these people talking about the silver dihydrogen citrate. And it was some multi-level marketing company saying, oh yeah, spray it on your toothbrush, spray it in your bathroom, spray it in your kitchen. And they were demonstrating it with these 3M swabs. But the CEO, which they played a little video of it, he got in trouble for this. He goes, this stuff is so pure, you could literally drink it. And he sprayed it directly into his mouth on a TV interview. And no, you're not supposed to do that. This is a hard surface cleaner, sir. Why did you do that? People are going to think you can take it internally. Well, sure enough, of course you could. So I bought a bunch of it at that thing, went back home, and I was spraying, my toothbrush and whatever else like you're supposed to do. But that night, I sprayed 7 sprays in my mouth, and I went to bed. It just tastes like lemon juice or something because of the citric acid, not much flavor. I woke up in the morning and I was having a shower. And when I was washing the lower part of my abdomen between my legs, I noticed it was a little bit puffy. And because, but I thought, no, that's kind of weird. It was just a little bit puffy, not much. And it hadn't been anything like that for a long time. So then the next day I did it again. Well, that night I sprayed again. So fast forward, what happened is that within a week, this thing was big, like it was full, but it was soft. Originally, when it was a tumor, it was hard. But it was blowing up like a balloon. At 14 days, I had to wear loose jeans. We had just moved on to our farm at that time. This is back in 2010. And so I'm having to waddle around. I couldn't bend over and pick something up with loose jeans on because it was squish this thing. It was like this big between my legs from the scrotum to the anus, right? Too much information. All right, anyway, inside the body. And I wasn't afraid because I had done all the cleansing to get it to that, like a scar tissue thing. And then on the around, and I didn't count exact days, but it was around the 15th day. Woke up in the morning and it was gone. It was empty. Now all the scar tissue was still there. It was back to its original shrunken size. And then I kept doing that every night. I did it for another few weeks, but it never ever filled up again. And then I just stopped. And I never thought much more about it. But by the about middle of 2011, which would be almost a year later, it was gone. Like my body dissolved all that scar tissue, all that residual, whatever that was. And that was connected to my colon. And that's why I wouldn't let any surgery happen. I didn't want anybody cutting something on my colon when I was infected with, it starts out as a fistula cyst, they call it. And then it morphs into what they call a cancer tumor. Anyway, when that was actually dissolved out of my body and it's been gone ever since, I realized that was a detox portal that my body must have had still in because those little picomolecules go through your whole system. And it took 2 weeks to clean all the rest of the stuff out. I'd never gotten at by that silver. So anyway, I'm not saying I'm not recommending anybody do that, but they could if they wanted to. But anyways, that was sort of more of a harsher way of getting that out of my system.
You did it yourself, though. You got rid of this all by yourself. You didn't have to go through any surgery or any allopathic by any allopathic means. So, but sounds painful.
It wasn't that part. The end part wasn't that bad. It was a bit painful, but it wasn't bad. It was like this squishy balloon thing in my body.
More of a discomfort.
Yes, right. It used to be very painful. Every heartbeat, I would feel it pulse when I had the problem. Yeah, it was a wicked thing. Terrible.
Wow. So there are so many people on board, and I think you've just kept everyone's attention with I could just carry on and on. I mean, we've gone on for an hour and a half and I could still carry on, but just to recap really in everything that we've discussed. And now, if you don't mind just simplifying everything that we said, like for people out there that are going through X, Y, Z, just to surmise step by step in a few sentences what to do, everything that we've spoken about today. So people that have just popped on, I actually say everyone watch this from the beginning. I think everyone's resonating with how you're explaining because you've gone through your own journey as well. It's not like you're producing these products and then telling everyone, hey, use them because I make them. You're telling us your story, and I think people are really grateful for that. So on behalf of everyone, thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for taking the time and investing in yourselves to, absorb the information. And it's all about, love thyself, heal thyself, because you have been given the grace to do so. And you have access now. This is after a 15-year journey of having no access to anything, to the access to this super definitive that will rebuild your entire constitution. Getting yourself into homeodynamics. People say homeostasis. Well, stasis is stationary, but homeodynamics are much more fun.
That.
Yeah. And having all the gaps filled and doing the simple things to get that done and not stressing over your symptoms at this time anymore. Knowing that those symptoms are going to dissolve as you go out of stage 3 of whatever that is and go back to stage 0 point something and then maintain that. And think about a future of only getting more valuable, better, feeling greater, stronger, faster, all the way around, just having more fun. And in spite of circumstances, they can't bear into that. Be strong and very courageous. Well, it's easy to say so, but when the words contain the energy and you receive those words and they come into your being, that's strength and courage that comes within you. You're being literally infused with strength and courage as you receive. And then the elements are also, because your mind is a mind game out here, right? Spiritual mind game. And then there's an emotional game. You want to have anything that would cause fear or anxiety. There's something on the menu that shouldn't be there, because fear hormones are not cool. And fear is a complex, and the only thing to fear is fear itself. So delete that. And strength and courage and joy and enthusiasm and inspiration and being anointed to the stuff that's really real out there. And always just thinking about yourself in the very best manner possible. And anytime you have any negative thoughts about yourself, it's not positive thoughts. Just think realistically. True humility is to call yourself what you really are on the greatest amount. Like judging yourself is cool because Judgment is, hey, I'm doing the right things. I'm getting better. I'm stronger. I'm brighter. I'm happier. That's the judgment that you want to have, right? If you won a contest as a violinist, you're the best violinist in this whole province or the whole country or the whole world. That's judgment. Those are wonderful judgments. And we do judge everything in a really super realistic way. You got to judge how fast that car's coming down the road so I don't step out in front of it and get run over in India. But, so, we're discerning everything. And I think the more fine-tuned the more dialed in you come to this whole universal frequency of healing and restoration, it just improves you and your life. So I highly recommend all of the base things. The iodine is number one. Number two is the magnesium. They do go hand in glove. They're such buddies and they love each other very much. And they just want to work together in your system. There's so many more things we could talk about. The Oceans Alive, of course, has the whole orchestra playing at once. This is a super fun one. You'll just love that. But it's food, right?
That is something that I'm really looking forward to getting, because he's just said, that it changed the dynamics of her energy. And that's something she goes, I can't wait for you to try. And I've said it a couple of times on the show, but I really can't wait to get that, because especially when you are met with some testing sort of times in your week. And the salts.
Yep, the salts. Yeah, just head down to the store. Make sure you get all 12. Don't mess around. Just get them all, because you need them all. If people get diagnosed and say, "Oh, this is 3 and 5," and it's pretty simple. Your body is way smarter than what we estimate it to be, and you just put that in. And then eventually we will have these.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure they're at a super affordable rate. And you can get,
because people you're taking about 100 a day.
Yeah. But even this isn't bad. These are $22 Canadian for 1,000 pellets.
Right.
So if I took 100 a day, that's 10 days supply. That'd be $63 a month, whatever.
So everyone, it's available at your health stores. Just make sure you choose. Is there anything particular sorry, you did say something earlier on, what to look for in the salts?
Just the excipients. You don't want to have a bunch of magnesium stearate. Always try to stay away from those kind of things. Magnesium stearate they use for lubrication and the high production of these pill manufacturers. So I call them excipients.
Yeah.
Anything that's not active ingredients, just always read the list and just take a look at it, and just keep that stuff as minimal as you can.
Additional supplements that you would recommend? Somebody's asked that in the conversation.
Yes, there's a must-have one as well, which is K2MK7 with D3. Now I get enough sunlight, and I have a special light that I get D3, so I don't even supplement with D3. But if you're not guaranteeing to get the right amount of D3, you should take the K2MK7 with D3. Now we have that on our website. It's called Perfect K2D3, and it's the reason I say it's perfect is because it really is. We don't manufacture that one. We simply bottle it. So there's a company out of Denmark, and the name of that company is Kappa, Kappa. I waited literally 15 years for them to show up, because I was never going to get into the vitamin supplements ever, because I didn't know what the efficacy was. And there's all these pills and potions and powders. These guys have so what K2MK7 does is K2 vitamin. The MK7 part is the dynamic side, but they have a trans factor with a 72-hour half-life. Most things you buy from the store have at best a 3-hour half-life. So when I found out they had done all the clinical trials, they'd done all the studies, went, okay, that has to go. And why? Is because D3 mobilizes calcium. K2MK7 makes sure that calcium gets into the bones and doesn't get into your arteries and harden your arteries, and doesn't get into your muscles and your joints. And magnesium also marries up with the calcium when it gets freed up, and helps you use that as a more of a structural thing, so you don't get overcalcified. Anyway, there's a whole dance with it, but I would highly recommend the K2MK7 with the D3, and we have it on the website. It is a small bottle, and you can take, the regular amount or more. I take more because I've done some more studies on it, but we always have to get RDA. A super affordable one too.
Right, and I've just put the website on for everybody, and then you've got a special code ALPA20 And what does that what does that involve?
That's 20% off your order. That's a significant discount. Yeah, off of everything you buy, and that's something that everyone on all your people who are your audience and your friends and your loved ones and your tribe will get that ongoing when they use that coupon code.
Okay. So 20% for you guys if you buy directly. Obviously, you'll be paying the full price, but you use the 20%. I really appreciate that because, look, guys, I know things are really intense and have been over the last 18 months. I get that, I'm not here to bombard you. Go and get this zeolite, which is what I love. I use that. I've got to get mine, actually. I keep forgetting to reorder that. And my water, the Kangen water, is what I use. Yeah. And that is because I want to make sure I'm drinking clean water. Just make whatever you decide, whichever brand you want to get or whichever distilled water. Some people prefer that. I'm not here to speak about that, but make sure you're drinking the correct water. And then what Ian has shared with us today, it really resonates from someone myself who's going through and has gone through a whole host of things, not really being sure where I'm going, what it really is, and having good days, bad days. I just want to remind everyone to do the lying on your back with your legs up over the sofa, incorporating that. And there's 3 things really, that's it, that are not difficult to do and to take. So just give it a go. This is our health, and the phytoplankton is something that I'm looking forward to having. And I'm really, I could speak to you forever, Ian. The questions are pouring in. The numbers have just increased as the show's just gone on. And I am going to have a show with Ian in 14 days because I want to do this 14 days straight. It's motivation. So I recommend everyone to do this with me. Have we got a deal? Come on, guys, I want to see that in the comments. But yes, so thank you, Ian. Thank you so much. I said this to you when we spoke. I feel a bit emotional as well, but I feel inspired and really, really optimistic because I've read everything. I've read the reviews as well, independent reviews about the iodine and the phytoplankton. I'll get it right. So, if this connects with you guys, by all means, connect. And in 14 days, Ian, we'll be back here again. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Any final words, Ian? I keep saying that every time.
Thank you for investing the time, and thank you for being everyone to be here and to bring their energy, because you all we draw out of each other. So I can feel the energy and the inspiration being drawn from you and from your audience, because that's, it's the quantum world we live in. It really is scalar wave. So I really appreciate everyone. Love you all, and love each other. Love yourself as much as you can. And
and just a final note, I want to add to what you're saying there is the energy that, we're here to help each other collectively, conscious connecting. As we all elevate, and we want our brothers and sisters to elevate, and we're all tired. We just want to move forward in our ascension journey. So respectfully, I will take your leave, everyone. Ian, thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has been the best, one of the best conversations I've had where it comes to matters for health. I thank Mark Atwood for the introduction. I really do. Thank him so much. Mark, if you're watching this, you're amazing. Finding people that can help you. And if this doesn't resonate, that's fine as well. But let's always keep it high vibing. So with that said, everyone, thank you so much. I love you all. Thank you for just your support on this channel. And in 14 days, I'm going to look 18. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.